welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of February 23rd, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me tonight, two individuals who, they could have been,
right.
no, they could have been superheroes, but they were too true to themselves.
Wait, what does that mean? Hi, I'm Benjamin Daniel Ellis. Too true to myself?
Yeah, you're no hero.
I only hope. Yeah, that's true. That's true. How about you, Devon Kraft?
Devon Kraft here.
It.
I don't know what that means, but
it's fine. It needs to be impacted, and we don't have the time to do it. How you guys doing tonight?
Yeah.
It's Sunday night. Okay, here's the deal. It's Sunday night. It's super late for Devon, so we're gonna lose him about halfway through the podcast if we don't hurry up. And we're recording tonight because I had a thing earlier today, the kid's birthday party thing. So, everyone's schedule got messed up. So thanks, guys, for adjusting your schedules just for me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Stephen, I'm fine. It was great.
I wonder how many people you just made yawn by talking that way.
Right. I hope not the other two people I'm on this podcast with, because that would be unfortunate. Oh,
that'd
geez.
be awful. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get right into it. So I've been playing a couple of video games. Sorry, Devon. I'll talk about them quickly.
Okay.
Keep Driving and Avowed. Now,
Dude, you got Keep Driving.
I did get Keep Driving. I'm gonna talk about Avowed first, though. Avowed. I'm playing because it is quote unquote free, as it's part of the Xbox Game Pass deal. It's like a first-person RPG set in the Pillars of Eternity universe thing. Which have two other really well-regarded role-playing games that were like the isometric types. I've played the first one, didn't play the second one at all. I played some of the first one, I should say. And it's pretty solid, but involved. Obsidian Entertainment. So they're the Fallout New Vegas people. They did that one.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other things. But that's the one I know about. It's been pretty fun. It's a pretty good game. Because I have a flintlock type pistol in one hand and a sword in the other, and I'm killing little dinosaur things on some kind of fungus island. It's exactly that. No more, no less. So that's been fun.
All right. Are you playing it on the Xbox? Or are you playing it on the PC?
PC. Because I've got this beefy new graphics card now, so it runs smooth. It looks real good. Yeah. So then Keep Driving is the road trip roguelite that I highly recommend. It's really good. You are a teen, maybe you're a 20. No, because there's like beer and stuff, so you must be in your 21s because you can buy alcohol.
Well, I mean, you're in Sweden though, so that might have a little.
We're in Sweden, but everyone's speaking English. I don't know where it's supposed. I thought it was just like anywheresville, like a nowhere in particular. It's supposed to be Sweden.
I think it is. That's what I picked up on some of the the trailers and stuff.
Oh,
Sweden. Yeah.
All right.
Like,
wait, Keep Driving and Avowed are two different games?
Yes.
Okay. And we're talking about Keep Driving?
Now we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep up. Come on,
I'm
man.
trying.
He's frantically trying.
I know. I see him taking all the notes. It's good job, man.
I don't want to take too many notes just because then I won't really be part of the podcast, but I also don't want to do the notes later. So
it's all good, man. Well, we all pitch in on the notes. So Keep Driving. It's your maybe a teen, maybe a 20, whatever. You start off with a car, and it's awful, but it's freedom. And the gameplay is you drive to the right. It's a great game. It's a 2D, like 16-bit graphics, 32-bit graphics. I don't know what bit it is, but it looks, oldish. And as you drive, events happen on the road. There could be a distracting rainbow. There could be potholes, and there are hitchhikers. And hitchhikers, if you want to stop and pick them up, you can. Some of them have quests. Some of them don't. They level up. I ended up picking up a little girl. Like, she was like, I got on the bus, and I was supposed to go to my dad's house, but they dropped me off and I don't know where to go. Can you help me get home? And it's like, yeah. So I ended up playing through her whole like little mini quest, which was essentially go here. No, this isn't right. Go here. No, this isn't right. Go here. No, this isn't right. Oh, look, there's a lost child poster at this truck stop. Oh, okay, this tells me where to go. And you go there, and there's like a police officer and parents, and it's like, oh, Dad. And it's great. And you help this little girl find her parents.
Nice.
Yeah. So I did that little quest, which was great. You're also supposed to be meeting friends at a music concert. What do they call festival? A music festival.
Yeah.
On the right side of the map, and you're all the way on the left side of the map. You have to deal with things like making sure you have enough fuel, enough that your car's repaired. So it's fuel, car repaired. You have energy. Or you'll fall
That's
asleep.
different than fuel. That's like as a driver, your energy, like you got to eat some food.
Yes, exactly. You do have to keep yourself fed. In fact, yeah. And like your energy also, there's like a tiredness tied to your energy. Like as you get tired, it like takes away the little squares of your energy so that you can't fill it all the way back up. And so the real gameplay is as you're driving, and you can put music on, and there's like CDs to collect because it's in the early 2000s. As you're driving, there are like random events that happen that will cost these resources: your gas, your car, your energy. There's another. Oh, money is the other one. There's 4 of them. Oh yeah, I think it's just those 4. And so you have like little special abilities that you as you level up, you can like unlock special abilities. So it's like, potholes, that's going to cost you 2 gas and like 2 car if you don't counteract them. Well, then you might have an ability called swerving, and that will cost you gas, but then it cancels out like the car damage. So there's like this back and forth of all your resources that you have to kind of figure out, and all of your hitchhiker buddies. Hopefully they're buddies. There was the girl, the stranger, the hippie, the punk who has a dog. I wasn't able to pick them up because I wasn't in a truck at the time, and I didn't have enough spaces for him and his dog. So I didn't pick them up. The mechanic. I'm in a truck with the mechanic. He's like, you got to soup this thing up. We got to go race it. And I'm like, all right, let's do that quest. So yeah, there's just all this random stuff. My first run through, this is where I'll stop talking. My first run through, I helped that little girl. I had the hippie with me, and the heavy sleeper, the dude that would just like fall asleep randomly, and then he doesn't help during the little events. And as I'm going, I ran out of gas. I misjudged. I think I ran out of money, so when I couldn't buy gas, I ran out of gas. When that happens, the game gives you a chance. Like, all right, use whatever resources you've got to try to keep driving. And I didn't have any. So the last thing you can do is call home. And when you hover over your little like Nokia 85, whatever, like the indestructible Nokia is what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
It says call home. Like this has an 80% chance of success. If it fails, your game is over. So I pressed it, and it like rings, and then it picked up. And then the screen faded out, and it faded back in, and I was back at the previous town. I had $200 back in my account, and it was like you called your parents, and they bailed you, gave you some money and bailed you out, kind of. The second time it happened, in that same run, I called home. They didn't answer. game over.
Oh.
And then I was like, that's it. I couldn't keep driving. Game's over. So then the little bit that was fun about that is when I restarted the game, there's 3 cars you can choose from, like a little sedan, a truck, or a muscle car. The sedan is the only one unlocked when you start. On your second run through, the truck is unlocked. I'm guessing your third run through, the muscle car will be unlocked. But on my second run through, the sedan that I was driving in my first run through was the one available for my second run through. So it's like your car gets like impounded or something, and now it's available for someone else to buy for another run. Something like that's kind of the vibe I got. So as you play, and as you can like upgrade your car, paint it, you can put car parts on it, you can put a roof rack so you can have more stuff, whatever. I'm guessing if you just want to pick the same car, those upgrades are still there, and you can just kind of keep going. I don't know though, not that far. It's a really fun game. Runs great on the Steam Deck. I tell you what. Yeah,
Right on.
That's me.
Right on. And you're playing on your Steam Deck.
I'm
That's
playing
nice.
on the Steam. Thanks, guys, for the Steam Deck you guys bought me.
You're welcome.
You guys are wonderful.
You're welcome.
That's so nice.
What have you been up to, Ben?
Oh, dude. So speaking of games, but of a much more physical variety,
Yes.
I've found a new solitaire game played with physical cards. That's and a D20 called Scoundrel Solitaire.
Hold on, you got my attention. A D what now?
Yeah. So this is a game by Zach Gage and Kurt Bieg. Now, Zach Gage, you may know as the developer who's made Really Bad Chess, which is a game I play every day, and Getting Over It. Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It, or Ridiculous Fishing. Gosh, I mean, he's just done a lot of incredible games. Card of Darkness.
Wow.
Type Shift. Sage Solitaire. Like he's done Spell Tower. He's a great developer, and he I think for like a game jam made this the rules for a single player roguelike card game. That's a solitaire game. You play it with a standard deck of playing cards. And the basic idea about it is you are a dungeon crawler and you flip over 4 cards, and those are the cards that are in the room. If they're spades or clubs, then they are monsters, and the hit points are what is shown on the card.
Ooh.
Jacks are 11, queens are 12, kings are 13, aces are 1. And then if you have if you pick up hearts, then you replenish your hearts, your HP, which you start off with 20. And if you go down to 0, you lose. Diamonds are a weapon.
Oh, yeah.
They're the weapons. And so you pick them up, and then you can those basically, as you are killing monsters in the room, there's kind of rules for how the equipped weapon like loses its strength over fights, and it reduces the amount of HP that you lose from fighting a monster.
Okay, weapon durability.
Yeah,
that's cool. Okay,
it's super cool. There are a few more rules to it, such as how to run when you loot a room, as well as a few other different things going on. But like generally, that's really cool. If it sounds interesting to you, I definitely recommend you check out the links in our description for the episode. And I also found like an online version, so you don't need a deck of cards to play it.
Oh, good.
You can play.
I'd
you can play it on your phone.
If I had a deck of cards around.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, like I think that this morning I broke out 3 decks of cards, and I taught Flint and Nicole how to play it. And
cool.
Flint was like, "This is the best."
Oh, wow.
We're like, all right.
Wait, did I miss where the D20 comes in?
The D20 is basically just counters for your hit points.
Oh, it's a counter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And and that is Scoundrel Solitaire. A single player roguelike card game.
Wow. Okay. Devon, you're up, sir. Tell us something good.
Okay. Well, for the real life thing, today Jen and I painted part of my office.
Oh, cool.
Because she wanted me to redecorate my office in like a drastic way, like redo the whole thing, and I didn't really want to do that. But first I needed to paint one of the walls. You know the wall I have? It's behind my desk, and it has all the Star Trek ships on it.
Uh-huh.
That wall,
you painted over all the Star Trek ships?
No,
that's not cool.
So that wall, because I changed the shelves, like the anchors and stuff from the old shelves were still on it, even though I tried patching it and painting it over, but we didn't have the exact paint match for that wall because we had paint cans in our garage, which I thought were the right paint color, but they weren't. So it was very patchy. So we decided to redo it, just that one wall. And so we spent right now my desk is not against the wall. It's like in the center of the room, which is very weird.
You're like a CEO, man.
Yeah.
What's it like feeling like the top 1%?
So
look at all the space you've got.
I also wanted to, I don't know if I mentioned it, because, I have that gaming PC, which I don't really use ever. Uh-huh. And, there's other games I could show my kids if they wanted to play them. They only play video games on weekends, but, we only have a Super Nintendo. But I'm like, well, on my gaming PC, there's options for like tons of games. You guys talk about all kinds of games all the time.
Yeah.
So I was going to take my computer and like, oh, maybe I'll take it downstairs and hook it up to the TV. And Jen's like, no, you're not doing that. And so instead I'm like, okay, well, what if I put a TV in my office then?
That's called a computer
I don't know
monitor.
if you remember seeing pictures of it, but on my other wall next to the Star Trek wall, I have 4 big metal posters of different guitarists, and I have my guitars mounted to that wall. Uh-huh. So I decided, I'm like, well, I could put a TV on that wall and just rearrange the stuff that's on that wall, which I'm going to do. But I took down those metal posters, and the way those metal posters are affixed to the wall is with magnets.
Oh, that's cool.
Because if you go to, I can't even remember the company I bought them from.
Displate?
But,
Are they Displate?
Yeah, Displate. They advertise everywhere, at least they used to. Well, and it's kind of annoying because their whole thing is like you just stick the magnet to the wall. Mm-hmm. It has sticky stuff on the back of the magnet, and then the magnet affixes the displate, the metal displate to the wall.
Yeah. Then you can buy a ton of them and then swap them out, and it's perfect. And there's no problems ever.
Yeah, except for they fall down constantly and ruin the displate, and I'm pissed about it. But so I ended up putting I put extra sticky stuff on the back of the magnet so the magnets would stay on the wall. And then because the displates don't stay connected to the magnet, I put nails under the displate to keep them up.
That sounds terrible.
It is terrible. So I'm like, well, I have to take everything off this wall because if I'm putting a TV on it, everything needs to be rearranged. So I took the displates off the wall, and then I took the magnets off the wall. But since I had to use extra sticky stuff, it tore some of the drywall off. Oh. And so I'm like, so I had to spackle the whole thing. And like, even though I wasn't planning on painting that wall, I'm like, well, we have plenty of paint because I had to get a gallon of paint. And so I have enough paint to paint the other wall. So I'm like, well, we'll just paint this wall too. So now that wall is like empty and has a bunch of spackle drying. And we're going to paint that sometime in the next couple days. So I'm going to redoing my office, which is nice. It'll look really good when it's done.
You're going to paint from the window to the wall?
Yeah. Well, no, you'll see. I'll send you pictures. It's a complete wall. It's a complete blank wall. There's no window on it.
Got it.
Anyway, so that's what I've been up to real life wise. I'm going to have questions for you guys about how, I understand how to connect a computer to a TV, but I don't know if there's like certain settings that are better, and also what games I might want to get to show my kids that are kid appropriate. And I'm sure you guys have
researching this for 10 years.
Recommendations, but
we'll
talk about that later.
We'll hook you up.
The other thing I put on here, and it's something I just saw yesterday that I thought was interesting. It was from a YouTube video. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, ChatGPT trying to make a picture of a full glass of wine.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it? Okay. Well, I just heard of it because a YouTuber I like, Alex O'Connor, did a video about it yesterday, or he put it out yesterday, and he went through the whole process of like asking ChatGPT, like, okay, no, I want a full glass of wine. and ChatGPT, saying like, okay, here you go, here's a full glass of wine. He's like, no, and it just shows you a regular picture of a glass of wine where the wine is like about the midway point where you would normally pour a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I want it like to the brim, like overflowing. And ChatGPT's like, okay, oh no, I understand. I'm sorry. Here's a glass of wine overflowing or to the brim. You can see the surface tension barely keeping it up, and then it just shows you the same picture of a glass of wine where it's filled halfway.
Yep.
And it's pretty hilarious. And then he goes into, because he's a philosopher, like that's his thing on YouTube, is he does YouTube about philosophy and religion and stuff. But he goes into a whole thing about David Hume and empiricism and how we have knowledge and blah, 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 and how that applies to ChatGPT, which is kind of interesting. But I just mentioned it mostly because it's kind of funny that ChatGPT can't make a full glass of wine because it doesn't have in its database, or it probably has, if it has any, it's very few pictures of a glass of wine literally filled to the top. Because when we order a full glass of wine, that's not what a full glass of wine is, and so there's not really any pictures of that online.
Yeah, you have to define what a full glass of wine means, which...
But even if you do, like that was his point, like ChatGPT will say, here is a picture of the wine to the brim, almost overflowing.
Right. It's
so
just
it knows. I mean, it doesn't know. It doesn't know anything.
It doesn't know anything.
What it's saying.
It's just
and it doesn't know
parodying
what the picture is.
It's just telling you what you want to hear. Essentially, it knows how to tell you what you want to hear. Yeah.
It can put the correct words together to describe it, but it can't make the picture of it.
Exactly.
That's very interesting aspect of it.
Yeah. So in our show notes here, I've got a picture of a half glass of wine or a full glass of wine. I just made this minutes ago as we were talking about it, and I said, can you make me a picture of a full glass of wine, like the wine is all the way up to the top of the glass? And it sends me this back, the picture that none of our listeners can see, but imagine half a glass of wine. And the response was, here's your image of a wine glass filled all the way up to the top with red wine. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments. And it's because it doesn't know. It knows that this is what a glass of wine looks like according to millions and millions of pictures. So this must be what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
and I'm
not AI.
I'm just, I wonder of all the other things out there that are more subtle than this, where you would like ask it something and you're like, why can't you understand something as simple as this? And it's like, well, it's just pattern recognition. And if it doesn't have an example of that pattern, it's not going to be able to produce it. It can't just make the simple leap to, we just increase the liquid in the glass, because it doesn't know that's liquid. It doesn't even know what a glass is.
It doesn't know anything.
Right.
It just like whenever I've made images, because I make all of our show images using AI because it's funny and it's quick, and whenever I say to put podcasters on, it knows to put like headphones on the people and some kind of microphone shape nearby, but there's always, I never say a gender or a race. It's always three white guys. Usually at least one of them has a beard and one of them's bald. Now, the three of us, I mean, there you go. We are the average podcast because there's a good chance one of us is bald and one of us has a beard at any given time. So it's not wrong, but so it's not real intelligence.
Whenever I see all that stuff, I thought that you like described us.
Nope.
More than just we're podcasters.
No. I mean, okay, there was one time when it was just you two that I said one of them needs to be bald.
Okay.
But that, because the first time you both had hair, but one person had a beard, one person didn't. I was like, one of these people need to be bald. And so then there was one person with a beard and then the other one was bald. So
there you go.
It knows it can't be the same person. That's impossible. Anyways, all right, let's keep right on rolling, baby. You know what time it is.
It's future and now time. It's future and now time.
It is future and now time.
You guys.
It's here we go.
I'm so excited.
I'm looking at what we've got here, and this is not very scientific. Most of these things, it's just a bunch of stuff we're going to talk about. But you know what? That's fine. And I think first thing we're going to do is answer a question. And this might be all we do. It depends on how long we talk about it. So on our Discord, shout out Discord, I guess, Renee asked us a question. Thank you, Renee. Renee is one of our patrons.
Thanks, Renee.
And she's been on the podcast. Thank you, Renee. Here we go. And quote, I have a super random shower thought for you all. My oldest kid has started taking guitar lessons. The place is awesome. They have private lessons and then a group lesson where they learn how to play as a band. Amazing. You're winning at being a mom. Like, that's fantastic. She is really into Weezer, The Offspring, and a lot of other 90s era alt rock. Once again, Mother of the Year. Like, how does your daughter know these things? This is great. The other day we were driving home and I said how heavy metal has some of the greatest guitar. Renee's the best. Like for those amazing solos and riffs. We listened to a few things that she hadn't heard before and she enjoyed it. At one point she said that I like the sound when you can hear them slide their hands along the neck. Devon, what's that called? It has a name. It's like,
probably, I don't know the name off the top of my head.
Well, it's like string squeak or something. There's like when you're playing acoustic and you're just sliding between chords and you hear that like little scrapey slidey. There's a name for it. I was like, hey, I've always loved that sound too. Then I told her double bass drum fills are another favorite musical sound of mine.
I did know the name of it, but I second guessed myself. It's glissando.
Glissando?
Oh.
Yeah, I knew that too, but I'm like, no, I think that's something else. Damn, I could have gotten that right.
That's my stripper name. Glissando. How do you spell that?
Glissando.
Oh, there we go. I had one S. Glissando. That's going to be part of our title probably.
Okay, well that's the reason, because it's not. I don't know if that actually applies to that particular sound. A glissando is when the term refers to smooth gliding movements between notes on a musical instrument, creating a continuous sound rather than a distinct pitch. So like if you do like a bunch of hammer-ons at once, or if like on a piano you can have the sustain pedal down and mix the notes together, or if you just generally like slide your hand across the notes, that's a glissando. So I don't think that applies to this particular sound, because this isn't a musical sound that we're talking about. It's like an incidental sound of just the movement that's required to play the instrument. So I actually don't think that term's correct, and that's why I didn't say it initially.
Okay. So it might be glissando, or it might be that string squeak thing that happens sometimes.
Someone just calls it a squeak, yeah.
Yeah, squeak. Let's see. Then I told her,
if you were to intentionally hit a note and slide your hand up the neck and have that note, like slide up and increase pitch, that would be a glissando, but that's not what you're talking about.
Okay. Let's see. I told her double bass drum fills are another favorite musical sound of mine. I guess having a drummer for a dad probably has something to do with that. Lol. Anyway, 2-part question. What's your favorite random musical sound? And also, what's your favorite guitar solo in a song? I know Devon has played forever and has always loved heavier rock and metal. So will you ask him to? I didn't know if he was on the Discord. Devon, are you on the Discord?
No.
Technically he is, but he's never there. All right, guys. I know, Ben, that you kind of answered on Discord, but can you answer for our oral audience?
Yeah, I think my personal favorite sound that like gets me is the sound of an orchestra tuning up, because it's like it's all about potential energy, right? Like something big's about to happen.
Yeah.
And fun fact, that's also the startup sound of the PlayStation 3, which I loved that console, y'all. and a good part of it was just that feeling. You start it up, and like when I first got it, and I was like, okay, cool, I've got Uncharted here in my hand. I wonder if this is a good game or not. And press the power button, and an orchestra started tuning up. I'm like, oh, this is premium.
You snapped the Uncharted disc in half. Like, I don't even need this. I'll just turn it on and off. That's all I need.
Pretty much. But
remember discs. Yeah, that's a good sound. That's a really good sound. I think my favorite sounds have always been vibrations, which is why I think I really leaned towards like bass. There's something about hearing the sound and feeling the sound at the same time that really does something for me. Like I don't know if that's like a random musical sound. It's when it's a song where the bass has been produced in a very specific way, and that can really just let me like tune into that song like perfectly. So for me, yeah, my random musical sound, bass notes. It doesn't matter which one, just they got to be heavy. Devon, do you have a favorite random musical sound?
I mean, I really like pinch harmonics on a guitar. It's
Ooh,
pretty
that's a good one.
standard in metal.
Can you explain what that is to those people who don't know?
So it's a lot, Pantera uses it a lot, but a lot of like more classic metal bands use it. It's not used as much in like the more common metal, but man, if you heard it, you would know exactly. So, it's
like that.
I know. I almost want to do a example of it I'm going to sound like an idiot. But it's like I don't know. It's like
grab any one of the guitars off your wall, hold it up to the mic, and just do one. I know that you can.
Yeah, but unfortunately, like you need distortion. It only really works with distortion.
Okay.
But it's basically if you hear like a really heavy riff, and then all of a sudden there's like this high pitched squeal, kind of like Steven was just mimicking.
Yeah.
That's not them playing a note way up the neck like you would for a higher pitched note. It's this way you roll the pick into the string, and it causes a particular harmonic frequency with the string, and you get a high pitched note out of it. Usually it's vibrated, and usually it's like. I'm trying to think. Like, if you listen to an album that uses a lot is Ozzy's classic stuff. His guitarist used to use it a lot because it was more in the 80s. That kind of music would have those. Like it's funny because it's not even something that Metallica really uses. Like I couldn't even think of a Metallica song where they really use it.
No, yeah, I don't think they do it that much.
No, not really. It's not. I mean, in a solo, like if you listen to the solo. The Master of Puppets solo, there's a part where you hear this really high-pitched squeal, but he also uses the whammy bar to bend it, so it's extended, and it makes this really loud sound. And what's funny about that is even the transcriber, if you look at the Master of Puppets tab book, didn't know how that sound was produced and made this weird thing where it's like, well, you have to like fret the string off the pickup to get this really high-pitched sound. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And all Kirk Hammett does is he does a pinch harmonic way down on like the second fret, and you get that high-pitched sound. Or if you listen to Cemetery Gates, Pantera Cemetery Gates, at the end of the song, there's this back and forth where the singer is singing really high pitch, and then the guitar follows it, and then at the end, the singer doesn't sing it. The guitar does one more note, but it goes even higher. It goes this really loud, high frequency sound. And that is actually a pinch harmonic on like the second fret. And it just sounds like it's really high because of the way you pick the string.
That's awesome. Like the when you get like certain guitar notes or sounds, I should say, because a lot of times it's an electric guitar doing it, it can be modified or adjusted electronically in any number of ways. It's not just about how you're manipulating the strings. It could be a pedal or a whammy bar or any number of something with a pick. There's all kinds of different things you could do to generate these sounds. I mean, just look at Rage Against the Machine and what that dude, Tom Morello, there you go.
Tom Morello, yeah.
The stuff that he does with his guitar is crazy. It's music, right? Technically, but it's like, how do you tab that out? To get an Allen wrench and rub it against your strings as you're like, as you're hitting a whammy pedal. I don't know, whatever. Like it's nuts. You can just make them these crazy sounds. That counts. All right, is the Master of Puppets solo your favorite solo, Devon? It's a really good one.
It's a really good one for sure. No, I mean, I'm still a huge Dream Theater fan. They just come out with the new album. I've been going back and re-listening to a lot of their stuff lately. And his solos, John Petrucci, I always say his name weird because I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. But
Petrucci? I don't know.
He's one of the 4 guitarists I have a displate of that is on my wall or was on my wall.
Don't even know his name.
It's just a weird. It's Petrucci. I don't know if I've ever been saying it right. But
We
anyway,
can solve this. Go ahead, keep talking.
any of his solos, but I think the solo, like I think the one that's considered like one of his most iconic is on the song Octavarium. Or if you go to the album, their early album, Images and Words, like every solo on that album is just cool. And of course, every solo of his is cool. So listen to any of their music and they're awesome solos.
Well, usually, yes. Their music is fantastic. I would say it's Petrucci because the two C's together like that. If he is of Italian descent, that's like it's a different. Those two C's are a different sound. It's like a ch sound. Anyway, but with the T, I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird name.
Like I've had a couple times, I've had people come in to fix our look at our internet because we have internet problems in the routers in my office, and the kind of guys who work on cable and internet are kind of guys who would listen to metal. So a few of them have noticed the
is that
pictures on my wall,
racism? What was that?
What?
What do you mean? The kind of guys that would fix things are metal guys?
Blue collar.
Blue collar. Okay. All right.
Anyway, because the other three are James Hetfield, Dimebag Darrell, and Kirk Hammett, and of course they recognize them. But then the fourth one, John Petrucci, they're like, "Oh, I don't know that one," and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, Dream Theater." And I have to explain to them about Dream Theater, but
okay, fair enough. Ben, which ska song has your favorite guitar solo in it?
Gosh, I mean, probably anything by Streetlight Manifesto for sure. Like, oh boy,
my favorite guitar solo is actually a horn section of the ska song.
If you guys haven't heard Streetlight Manifesto, you guys got to fix that because
I've heard it.
Dang,
I've heard of it.
Okay, all right. I mean, yeah, like that's probably the most complex and hardcore ska band I can think of. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I know I led you on there. Did you have another answer for a favorite guitar solo in a song?
No, it's got to be Streetlight Manifesto.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like which song would be good, and I'm having trouble thinking of any of their names because I was not it's just not coming. Okay. So yeah, but just listen to any of their songs.
All right. So I'm gonna say I think the guitar solos that I enjoy the most, I think, have come from Avenged Sevenfold and or Bullet for My Valentine. So I don't have like a specific song, but I will say that Waking the Demon from Bullet for My Valentine is a fantastic song that everyone should listen to at least once in their lives. So check that one out. There's some good double bass in there for you, Renee. So give that to your kid and see what she does with it. I forget what album that's on, but you can figure it out. I'm pretty sure that has a good solo. What was that style of music called?
Sorry, which exactly?
Well, wait, yeah, what do you mean?
There's like a early 2000s metal has like its own genre name now.
New metal?
No, that's late. That's last century, bro. No, new metal.
True.
New metal is like Korn and Limp Bizkit, which there's a lot of people discovering Limp Bizkit now, which just blows my mind. They're having a resurgence. It's like, wow, I've been doing it all for the nookie for years, and now the kids are catching up. Metalcore. They just call it metalcore. It's like a very specific like type of music, and when I've heard examples of it, the first thing I think of is Bullet for My Valentine. Anyways, that doesn't matter so much. So there you go, Renee. There's your answers. Hope you and your children can bond over them because they're good answers. They're the best answers. We have the best answers. Nobody answers better than us. Ben, have you... I don't...
Oh my gosh.
I've also been watching Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Ben.
Right on. Well, that's very nice. So look out. Here comes the Spider-Man, y'all. Disney Plus has a new show. It's called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And I've seen the first 5 episodes, which make me completely not an expert on this because the entire series is out and I completely missed it. And I'm catching up.
How many
But
episodes
it's
are there?
really good.
Do we know? We must know if the entire series is out. Is it like 10
You know,
episodes or something?
Stephen, you definitely you have as much opportunity to look this up as you do to ask the question.
You're right, and I did, and it's 10. So
Okay.
there you
Yeah.
go.
There we go.
10 episodes.
Right on. Sweet.
Yeah.
And IMDb includes they say that there's a second season coming. So
I mean,
that's cool.
Why not?
Why not?
It's interesting because I'm a decent Spider-Man fan. I'm not like a super duper Spider-Man fan, but I've been known to enjoy some Spider-Man in my days. I don't recognize like any of these characters. They decided to go in like a whole new direction. I mean, there's the Peter Parker, there's the Aunt May, we got a Norman Osborn.
I mean, you're talking about like any of the main actor or characters, right?
Yeah,
like there's
all of Peter's friends. Those are all characters that I don't know who they are.
right.
They're not
Okay,
the
yeah.
traditional 1960s Peter in high school characters. These are other characters, which maybe they've been in comics or something, and I don't know them. But it's a good show.
How far are you in it?
Like 3 or 4 episodes. I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Because see, constantly you're coming across events that we've seen in the MCU, but are very different because Spider-Man is not there.
Oh, okay. So I have not gotten that far.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm like, you don't recognize. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, Doctor Strange shows up in the first episode.
Yeah. He's there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Like, yeah, but I mean, I know what you're talking about, like the main characters that are at Peter's school.
Yeah. Peter's
are
friends
that
are new. There's no MJ, there's no Ned, there's no Flash Thompson. Like all of the classics aren't there.
Yeah, but
So
one
far.
of the characters does become the dude at the desk.
Oh yeah, the guy in the chair.
hilarious.
You mean? Or is
Nope.
It's a dude at the desk. Oh, okay. So this is on purpose, like a Spider-Man from the Spider-Verse, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so like the basic idea was they originally had planned to make this, from what I've read, they originally planned to make this show the MCU version of, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and kind of like, let's fill in some of the gaps.
Sure.
But then they realized there's still probably going to be some Tom Holland movies.
Yeah, probably.
and if they didn't want to write themselves into a corner because either they wouldn't be able to do anything interesting with the character, or B, for fear of stepping on something coming up in the future, or B, they would be so hamstrung by it that so what they did the best thing possible, which is to go back to like not just the roots of like Spider-Man himself and many of the stories there, but also like none of the other Spider-Man cartoons throughout the history of Spider-Man cartoons have interacted with one another or been part of a larger universe. And it's tremendously refreshing.
Well,
to
until
get this.
Until the Spider-Verse movies.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. They're yeah, true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean
which
that's,
was also very refreshing.
Yeah,
sure.
that's
but
the brilliance of the Spider-Verse movies is that you can tell a Spider-Man story 1,000 different ways and it's still Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about the character. Anyways.
And so the first episode you get like a little bit of setup, and then you get a 6-month time jump.
Mm-hmm.
To when he's already Spider-Man and he's got this makeshift suit that's got all this like techno wizardry on it, but like, and it's so good. Like just starting off there is incredible. But then the show, much like X-Men 97, it's it's taking some really interesting swings, and yeah, I'm here for it. 5 episodes in, let's go. I mean,
If you're
and
gonna
these
go ahead.
these 5 episodes I've watched since the last time we recorded this show. So
That says
like
a lot.
that's blisteringly light speed for me right now, and how my days are going. So
I hear that.
yeah, yeah, so yeah, 3 episodes in, that's awesome. Keep it up.
Yeah,
dude.
I plan on it. It's a great Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man, for me, the Spider-Man stories of Spider-Man after gaining his powers on his way to becoming a superhero are the most interesting stories. When he's a teenager and he's figuring things out, he's balancing school and his social life and being a superhero and what that means, all that stuff, and at a critical point in people's lives when we are teenagers, it's gold. That's where, because it's so relatable, because you feel like I remember so many years ago, like you're pulled in so many different directions, right? You're like you yourself are changing, right? Puberty's doing its thing. You've got school is different, social life, maybe you have a job too, you've got your family stuff, you have to balance all of it. That's something that all of us can relate to. That's just
Right.
part of growing up, especially in America, because he is an American superhero. And so you just slot in superhero with that to cause even more chaos, and this sense of responsibility, this sense of like, I have to do the right thing, to help people, because that's what I should be. Not only is that what Uncle Ben wanted, but that's what I should be doing with these powers. That's the right thing to do. And sometimes that means you miss your date. Sometimes that means you get home late and you got to lie to Aunt May. Sometimes, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so relatable. And that's why Spider-Man is one of these characters that they can just kind of keep reinventing in different ways, and it still works. Nothing is broken about the character.
I think that what's really nice about the Spider-Man show is that some of the secondary characters take on like their own versions of that story as well. Specifically Lonnie Lincoln. Lonnie Lincoln is star quarterback. He happens to be dating Penny, who Peter has a big crush on, and he kind of realizes, oh hey, Lonnie isn't all that bad. Like he's fine. But then you start to uncover a little bit of Lonnie's story, and he's got a little brother who gets mixed up in a gang, and he has some decisions to make about like how he can protect his family from this nature. And he basically says, hey, listen, take me for him. You know, I'll be in your gang now. He let my baby brother go. And that decision spurns a lot of growth with the character, and a lot of challenges, because he's a star quarterback. He's ready to go to the NFL, and now he's got, basically these his new family. The 110th gang is
110th Street Gang. Yeah,
the 110th Street Gang. Yeah, they don't care about what he's got going on. They just expect him to show up when they're going to throw down. And
the whole we could probably move on after this, so we're talking about Spider-Man forever. But the whole idea that in this show they took all of the standard Spider-Man tropes with him in school and just flipped it on its head. Yeah, he's a big nerd. He's always been a big nerd. But in this show, that's not a bad thing. He's just somebody who's smart. The big jock quarterback isn't also mean and rich. He's also smart, and he comes from a bad side of town, and he deals with that.
Yeah.
Like his good friend, what's her? I don't even remember her name. The one with like the crazy hair, the goth girl. Like,
yeah,
she's just his best friend. Just because they happen to meet. And that's just kind of how people meet sometimes. It's like, okay, cool. Like there's
Nico.
Nico
is her
yeah.
name. Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah,
Never mind.
they're not dealing with the typical, oh, there's just a bully at school and I gotta stand up to him sort of story that we've seen so many times before. This is like, and I think that they kind of hand wave it a little bit at the beginning because they're like, well, Peter's a smart kid. He's going to go to like a gifted school.
Right. Yeah.
And so.
And then the gifted school gets blown up. Anyways.
Immediately.
Within the first reel. Yeah. All right. Let's move on from Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's Disney Plus. Check it out. 10 episodes. It's got Ben's seal of approval so far. Devon, looks like you have something to say.
Well, I'm just wondering because it's what I was going to talk about was a book I'm reading, but I've only read some of it.
Okay.
So I could probably talk about it in more detail after I've read the whole thing. I don't know if you want to want me to get into it now just because of time, or I can talk about it. I'm happy to talk about it. I just wanted to.
We're almost
at an hour. Maybe we'll wait on that until you've read more of it. Is that
sure? So I'm just saying I'm
that?
reading the book Animal Liberation now by Peter Singer, and it's quite disturbing. But I'll talk about it more later.
I can't wait. Can't wait to be disturbed. All right. Well, the thing I was going to talk about, I will also skim over because of time reasons. But the kids really wanted to watch Wicked, or Wicked Part 1, as we know it now, the movie of the musical of the book. And it's rated PG. It's bordering on PG-13 at times, I think. We watched about a little over half of it. It's a long, long movie as well. I think it was a good 20 minutes before the title sequence started. There was a whole musical number before the title sequence. Like that's the kind of movie we're talking about here. And we ended up watching about half of it, and then it was like, bedtime or whatever. And they haven't asked to keep watching it, which is very telling for them. So I got curious. I watched it, I was watching it with them. And so I started doing a little research into the book and the reason why the author wrote the book in the mid 90s, I think. And he wanted to explore how do I say this? If someone is called bad or wicked their whole lives, for no good reason except for that's how people see you, at what point do you just go, you know what? Sure, I'll lean into that. Might as well. If that's what everyone thinks of me anyway. And what does that mean for that person? And that's kind of what the story's about in a way. It's interesting. I've always been kind of like Oz curious, if you will. There's a lot of Wizard of Oz stuff, or just the Land of Oz. There's 40
and there's
books.
a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's not canon. That's part of Oz. There are a lot of other authors that have expanded Oz quite a bit.
There's something called the Famous 40 or something like that, which is 40 Wizard of Oz books. Not all of them by the original author, Frank L. Baum, I think. There was 20 of them from him, and then there were another 20-ish, and I have the numbers wrong, but it's roughly. I think there were 2 or 3 other authors that continued the stories, and they are wild, man. I was going through the wiki, and just the Bing Bong and Pip Pop went to the land of Flim Flom and looked for the Zip Zop, and I'm like, what is this? This must make sense to somebody. The names are wild. Anyways,
Flint and Nicole watched Wicked Part 1 when I was doing something else one day, and Flint was like, love those flying monkeys. They show up at the beginning and at the end. There was another very long movie in the middle of that. I'm never watching it again. But we did sit down and watch Return to Oz from 1985. And that was a hit.
That's a popular one. It's
with our 11-year-old.
Dark and weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And they have the wheelers. So a kid that's a roller derby fan thinking about seeing acrobats on weird roller skating four-legged roller skating skills.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. That film's got some incredible
is that
production
the one
design.
with the pumpkin head man?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
There's a bunch of other books with him in it too. But he's a guy. Does things.
He is
All
the
right.
guy for sure.
All right, we are going to take ourselves a little break, and when we come back, we're doing our book club. I hope everyone read their copies of Millennium by J.G. Ballard, the 1962 dystopian tale of extreme overpopulation. We're going to talk about that after the break, so we'll be right back.
If you like this and other things like this, that's great. Go to patreon.com/Science Faction Podcast and listen to more of this stuff.
And we're back.
Heyo.
Hey.
Hi.
And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. If y'all want to join our little discussion group there on Discord, you don't have to pay anything to us. You can just become a free member of our patreon.com/Science Faction Podcast and join.
Click the link.
That's fine too.
And we're on YouTube too. People are watching us on YouTube. There's some people that watch us on YouTube. We're getting views, a couple of them. So someone enjoys us there. So that's good.
Maybe we'll have to put our faces on there sometime.
Nah, no one needs to see that. Oh, we can do that. We'll put that picture that Devon paid for of us as Lower Decks people. We should put that on there.
Mm-hmm. And we can get that like animated with AI to like have our lips move.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Probably possible.
That would be terrible and awesome. It's just, it's both.
I can't handle that.
Well,
tell us what
next week. Yeah. Next week for book club, we're doing something a little different, you guys. Is everyone on board? I guess is the big question before I say this.
I think we are.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all on board with this idea of yours, Ben.
All right. Hey, y'all. Becky Chambers wrote an incredible novella called To Be Taught If Fortunate. And I think that it's a little bit too long for a single week. So I've broken it up into 4 different discrete chunks. The first week, we're going to read the chapter titled Please Read This, and the second chapter, Acor and Earth. And then stop before the crew gets to Mirabilis. But that's the first week. That'll be next week. And the basic idea about To Be Taught If Fortunate is, let me see here. At the turn of the 22nd century, scientists make a breakthrough in human spaceflight. Through a revolutionary method known as somaforming, astronauts can survive in hostile environments off Earth using synthetic biological supplementations. They can produce antifreeze in sub-zero temperatures, absorb radiation and convert it for food, and conveniently adjust to the pull of different gravitational forces. With the fragility of the body no longer a limiting factor, human beings are at last able to journey to neighboring exoplanets long known to harbor life. And this story goes with a team of these explorers that are hard at work on a planetary system 15 light years from Sol on a mission to ecologically survey 4 habitable worlds. But as Ariadne, the main character, shifts through both form and time, the culture back on Earth has also been transformed. Faced with the possibility of returning to a planet that has forgotten those who have left, Ariadne begins to chronicle the story of the wonders and dangers of her mission in the hope that someone back home might still be listening.
I mean, that sounds like Becky Chambers to me.
Yeah. And it's a standalone. It's not part of the Wayfarer series nor any of her other books.
Monk and Robot.
But yeah, it's not part of Monk and Robot. It is a perfectly encapsulated, it's really good. And I very much enjoyed it. And I hope you guys do too. I guess spoiler alert for the next 4 weeks. I enjoyed the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, you've already read this, so you're going to be anxiously chomping at the bit to see what we have to say about it. And pretty sure we're going to dislike it and tell you all the reasons why you're wrong about liking it.
Good.
No. No. I have yet to read something of Becky Chambers where I'm like, I don't like this. It's always like, this is awesome or astoundingly awesome. So I am looking forward to this.
Yeah, it kind of came up for me because I was like, oh, I got to read the Fourth Wayfarer's book. And then I was like, well, yeah, but I kind of want something a little shorter. And this popped up. And I said, you son of a bitch, I'm in. And,
Nice.
and then there we go.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, Monk and Robot, the two Monk and Robot books are shorter, and I just want her to write like 20,000 of them. They're so good. They're like these perfect bite-sized little morsels, and I want so many more of those. All right, well, that's next week, so everyone go out and find that. Once again, that is To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. You can find that all kinds of places. I've even seen it on shelves. But today we are discussing Millennium by J.G. Ballard, which is a short story by British author J.G. Ballard, first published in the November 1961 issue of New Worlds and in the 1962 collection Millennium. And it appeared in a lot of other places. I read it. I'm assuming you guys read it as well. It is.
Yes.
I read it because I couldn't find an audio version anywhere.
Oh,
you poor thing.
You had to look at words with your eyes?
Yeah.
Ah, man. What is this? 6, 7, 8? It's like 9
Actually, I
pages
read it
long.
while I was waiting for the paint to be mixed when I ordered it at Lowe's.
Oh.
Nice. That must have been an interesting experience reading it while working on your home.
Painting a room.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lot of room talk in this story.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna dive right into this. This is a story. This is a story of a guy who. Sorry, that came out weird.
Yeah, it's a little dystopian story about the horrors of overpopulation. And someone who grows up and lives in a world where essentially rooms are the size of coffins, and and they're getting smaller every year because they need to make the buildings that they've constructed house so many more people.
I like the way that they said, yeah, in the cities we're cramming everyone in like sardines. Everywhere else, we are growing as much food as possible.
Right.
How does the food get into the cities? They don't talk about that.
There's a lot of logistical issues with it.
Yeah. But that's not the point though. But yes, there are. So throughout the course of the story, the main character and his buddy, they're like, "Oh man, I got 7 square feet," and the other guy's like, "Man, that's so much room. Can I move in with you?" And he's like, "No, man." And then his landlord comes up and he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna have to split this in half so 2 people can live in here." It's ridiculous. Let's see. Let's see. Rossiter worked in the insurance department at the city hall, had informal access to the census statistics. For the last 10 years, these had been classified information, partly because they were felt to be inaccurate, but chiefly because it was feared they might set off a mass attack of claustrophobia. Right. Minor outbreaks had taken place already, and the official line was that the world population had reached a plateau, leveling off at 20,000 million, which is 20 billion. No one believed.
So I saw that. I was like, is that a misprint, or is that just a really weird way he wanted to say that?
I don't think the word billion was. Yeah, it wasn't a well-known word, I bet. Let's see. No one believed this for a moment, and Ward assumed that the 3% annual increase maintained since the 1960s was continuing. 20 billion, a population of 20 billion. What are we at now? Like 9 billion, something like that?
I think it's like 8.
Is it 8 something?
It turned 8 billion in mid-November 2022.
Okay.
It was 2.5 billion in 1950. I'm just thinking at the time the story came out, the population was already in the billions. So I feel like people would be familiar with measuring population in billions, but
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe it was just a point of like, hey, pay attention to this number. 20,000 million? Why, that's 20 billion. Maybe it was a moment that the author wanted you to stop and think for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That definitely seems like it, for sure.
When I first read it, I was like, I thought it was said like 200 million. I missed a zero. And I'm like, oh no, is this like one of those things where like, oh man, the future's going to be so crazy. There's going to be like 200 million people on the planet. And at the time, maybe there was like, 50 million. I knew those numbers couldn't make sense because I knew by that time there had to be at least a billion, if not 2 billion on the planet. But I just thought at some point, I thought maybe this is like some like way off the mark guess. But I'm like, 20 billion? That's not bad. I think it should have been more, but that's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously the whole thing about sustainability and resources and everything, when it really, like, if you had a society that was only concerned with keeping humans alive, I think you could the planet if the resources are distributed in a way that was equal to everybody, blah, blah, blah. If your only goal was to keep as many people, make them alive and keep them alive as possible, I think the planet could sustain probably a lot more than 20 billion people.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea. It wouldn't be a great life, as it says, but I think you could actually get a lot higher, given how much space there actually is on the planet.
Yeah, there's still a whole lot of nature out there that we have not done anything to yet. Directly. Indirectly, yes. Directly, no. It's kind of when you really take a look at the world and how big it actually is compared to about where the people are, it's a big planet. So anyways, this story goes along, and the main thrust is, hey, can we find a better place to live? And they do. The main guy, is Rossiter? Is that the dude, or that's his buddy?
There's Ward. I think Ward is his buddy.
He told Ward. He and Rossiter teamed up. I can't tell which is which. Doesn't matter. These two guys end up teaming up to get this room together. It was like a great price, close to their job. Oh, that's the other thing, is the main character is like, oh, I live like a block away from my job, so I just go there and then I come home, and that's all I do, because that's the only time I have to do, and because everyone's so shoulder to shoulder. And
it takes them like two hours to get to a coffee shop that's a couple blocks away.
Yeah. And there's like long ago, like the vehicle stopped running because it's just people everywhere all the time. So they find a place and like, this is great. And then one of them accidentally puts his hand through the wall, and there's a whole room on the other side of that wall that nobody's in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. When they were talking about how they went into that room and just started like stretching, I was like, they've never had a chance to do that. There's always people around them. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as the story goes on, then these two girls are like, hey, can we live there too? And they were like, yeah, we'll put up some more walls. There's plenty of room. And then one of them was like, my grandma's sick, and I put her in here. Oh, my dad. Oh, he put him in there too. And they got all this furniture. They were like, look at this. We got these two armchairs and a wardrobe, and they're like, oh, this is the best. Look at all this room. And then as they slowly more and more people started living in this room with them, those things started going away until they were just right back where they started. And I'm not sure how to feel about that. What did you guys think about that part of the story?
I think it's always fascinating to me how sci-fi stories could go better or they could go worse. And you see this coming a mile away and you're like, oh, this isn't going to go better, is it?
No, it's not.
Well, I was wondering, like, what is the story? Like, I was like, okay, we've set up the situation, the world, like, okay, and what's going to happen now with these characters? And I guess the story is they find that room and then they end up filling the room. And I'm like, well, is the point of it that we're no matter what space humans have, they're gonna fill it to the maximum? Like what's
Yeah.
To the max.
to the max?
To the max. It's I think the whole what's the word? Like the moral of this story is sharing is caring. You've got to share your space. Like, so the whole thing is like the wardrobe gets more screen time, if you will, towards the end of the story, because that's like the last piece of furniture to go, and they have to break it down. And the last line is, then he pulled himself together. It was a beautiful wardrobe, without doubt, but when it was gone, it would make the room seem even larger.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's kind of human folly, right? Like we get these wonderful gifts and we quickly squander them. But are we squandering them for good or for bad? Like they wanted to help all these people have space because that was the premium. That is the most important thing in this society is space. And these
and generally they don't complain about it.
No, it's just life. That's just how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how it is. And it's like, well, of course these people need it. We were there. We have been in these situations and we have found a way to get out of it. And so why wouldn't we want to share that?
Yeah. Is this a positive story? Like, is this about like, yeah, even when people get these great windfalls, they won't necessarily squander it on themselves. They'll squander it on close friends and family until everyone's back to where they were. But
right.
I don't know. Is that
doesn't ring true?
No, it doesn't.
Seriously?
It doesn't. I don't know.
I mean, it depends on the person. Like, okay, these guys are friendly guys, and they're like, yeah, we have this space. Let's let other people use it. I mean, you could tell a story where they find this room and they hide it and they go to extreme measures to keep it private. And then it's like about, a totally different story. That's why I feel like it's more of just presenting a situation and like, here's an interesting world and we should consider this because we are overpopulating the planet. But it's the story itself feels like there's not, again, like a moral or point to it as much.
This story is a direct analogy to money, right? If one of us suddenly found $1 billion, so much money that we don't even know what to do with it all.
Well, we definitely bring it into our Patreon. And
we would definitely go to patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast and pledge and get on that Discord. That definitely with that $1 billion. No. Brought to you by Squarespace. No, definitely not. So
yuck.
Displate. So like that's kind of what this is. Like if we had $1 trillion, like so much that we don't even know what to do with it all. And some people were like, hey, can we just have like some of that? Like, of course. I will never use all this money. Here, have some. Well, okay, but my grandma, she's sick. Oh, man, here, she can have some too. It's so much. I'll never use it all. And you keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and you keep helping others until you no longer have that money. And now you're kind of back to where you were, but you've helped all these other people. So I think this is like a positive story.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times the story of people who win a lot of money, it's more that they squander it on themselves and buy dumb stuff. I mean, they give it away to like friends and family, I guess, too.
But specifically, like if this story is like a direct analogy, they find the space, and then by the end of the story, they're back to where they started, except for they've given a gift to all these other people.
Except they didn't, though, because all those other people now have the same amount of space they would have had, or less space, because there's too many people in the room.
Yeah, they're kind of all just back where they were before they found the space. So,
This reminds me. There's a couple of things, like there's Soylent Green is the movie that addresses a similar issue, and there's an episode of Star Trek, the original series.
No kidding.
Which episode is that?
What What do you have to say about that, Steven?
No, there's
kidding.
a Star Trek. Next, he's gonna be like, there was a Simpsons episode. I'm sure there was. Also, South Park.
What's the one? It's the something Gideon, the Mark of Gideon.
Yeah, Earth.
Yeah, the Mark of Gideon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where I guess what is it? The planet, their technology is so good that people can't die, so it's overpopulated, so they need like a virus to be able to kill people or something.
But
That makes sense.
it's not a virus. It's a
It's
like
a giant
there's like
knife.
killing booths. Is this the killing booths one?
No, that's the one where they're at war with another planet, and instead of
Oh.
destroying the cities and the infrastructure, they just send people into death booths so that the population dies as if they were hit by a missile or bomb.
Right. Yeah.
That
Anyway.
makes sense. That's good. I like that. Just march yourself into the death booth. Now, can we stop war, please? Because that's all we're doing.
Well,
Anyways.
that was the solution. Kirk destroyed that system, so it's like if you're going to go to war, you're going to have to, actually have the bloody consequences of it. Other
Like
than just
Americans
dying,
do.
you have to deal with the destruction and mayhem.
Yeah, collateral damage. If you're not causing collateral damage, you're not doing war correctly. Stop it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's that is Kirk
That's
for you.
There it is.
Well, another thing I just about the sustainability or the maximum population, I did find a study which I linked on here. I think it was from 2011, but they actually found that using all land, planet Earth can sustain 282 billion people. And they have a couple other scenarios, like Save the Forest scenario yields 150 billion people. A scenario that cultivates only pasture to feed animals yields 96 billion people. So the 200 billion is actually not too bad.
That's actually on the lower end of things.
Yeah. I'm just saying
Yeah.
because I thought it should have been higher to be more realistic. And I still think that, if he said 300 billion or 400 billion, I think that would have been reasonable too. Anyway, so the other thing I was thinking about this story is like they talk about having landlords, but the landlords live in the same conditions, right?
Right.
As far as we know, yeah.
And so it's kind of like, what's the point of money? Because if you buy stuff, you have nowhere to put it. You can't. Since these rooms are mandated by the government, it's not like you can make money to buy a bigger place. It doesn't work that way. It sounds like it's a pretty well-controlled economy by the government. So like, why do you even have landlords? Shouldn't everything be owned by the government anyway?
Well, they talk about the spaces being minimums. So the way I took it was the landlords were being greedy by dividing up by the absolute minimum size required by the government. There could be bigger places, but then they would just be making less money. And there's people that need to live, so there's always going to be someone who wants to move in, so you might as well make it as small as possible to get as many people in as possible, to get as much rent as possible, I guess. It's not really that clear, and I'm sure if this story was built out into a longer form, you would really have to explain that kind of stuff because it kind of falls apart.
I was also wondering when they go to work, because they mentioned like he works at the library and the other guy works somewhere where he has census data.
Yeah.
Like when you go to work, are you packed like shoulder to shoulder too?
Yeah,
probably.
they talked about in the library being shoulder to shoulder in the library.
Yeah.
So that's
And they talked about going to the stadium to watch a movie or something, and it's like it takes forever to get in there and forever to get out.
Oh, and there was a 20,000 person jam where they were just standing around for 48 hours until the crowds moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that I feel claustrophobic just talking about it. I'm like, no, thank you. No. Very interesting story. I really like this one, and I like how I'm not sure how to feel about it. I think that's a mark of a good sci-fi story. What was this saying exactly? I need to think about this. That's a mark of a good sci-fi to me.
Yeah, it felt classic in the ways that the sci-fi of my youth, of the Bradburys and the Arthur C. Clarkes did, and so yeah, I give it I give it a 30 billion population.
I give it a population of 30 billion. That's good. I think it's interesting, this episode, because this is something written in the 60s that is telling of a future, of an overpopulated future. And we also talked about Spider-Man, which was originally created in the 60s, and yet Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man takes place in modern times.
Mm-hmm.
And just to go back to that very quickly, changing the Spider-Man story to include things like cell phones and digital media and scientific advances and whatnot, it still works. Just like this story, even though it tells of a future that doesn't exist but could, it does so in a way that still makes sense in a way. Yeah, you know, it's weird, it's crazy, it's people jammed in, but I mean, look at other overpopulated places, like look at India, right? Look at China. Like there are places where there are really dense places where people are living in tiny rooms or homes, and they're surviving. Some of them are thriving. You know, like this American dream of ours. Maybe it's not quite what it should be. Especially the big old lawn that we've got that we don't need.
Yeah, but populations, even in China, I think, are decreasing.
Well, look who watches the news.
I mean, no.
How you feel about yourself now?
Any industrialized nation eventually gets to the point where
make
the population
fun of him for that.
plateaus, and then actually decreases because the birth rate drops to below sustainability or below replacement, and that's happening in China and the United States. Mm-hmm. But the United States population keeps increasing because of immigration. So it's actually we kind of have the opposite problem where it depends on which part of the world you look at. In places like Africa, you still have overpopulation. And then in places like the more industrialized nations, you actually have a low birth rate and have to rely on immigration. And so overpopulation can still be a concern because the population is increasing, but it's not like spread around the world evenly. So it's going to have a much worse impact on, of course, what are already the poorer areas, and places like the United States will do fine until it'll be funny when we have a change and we realize we need the immigration and have pro-immigration policies instead of the opposite.
Yep.
That's going to be fantastic. All right. Since we started talking about immigration policies, I think it's time to call it for this episode. I think we've taken it as far as we can. And we're also at an hour and 20. So that is plenty of science faction for this week. Devon, do you have any final thoughts?
No.
Okay. Ben, do you have any last words?
Ewoks always seem to be confused about which conjunction to use. Like, what do you think would happen? That's what happens on the forest moon of and/or.
Good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFactPodcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.